Hey guys, it's Tony Robbins. Listen, I've got a video here for you today that I think you'll really enjoy. I am, for the last, I guess, 9 months or so since the economy took its giant collapse all over the world in different areas financially, I've been meeting people that are trying to figure out what to do financially. And I've watched so many people in business who are trying to figure out what to do. Their customers are responding in a different way. They're hanging on to their money and they're concerned. And so I thought, you know, the traditional approaches to business are not making a difference. What I'm best at is modeling. You know, I've always, when I wanted to figure something out, I go to people that are the best in that area and figure out what they're doing and teach myself how to do that and then teach others to do the same once I've proven it's worked with myself. I said, I want to find the best of the best, and I've been really fortunate over the last, as I say, probably 7, 8, 9 months to have spent some time interviewing and getting to know and becoming good friends with many of the top people in the internet marketing. I mean, people that they're not the likely people you normally look at. I look at them as the new money masters. You know, they're guys that, you know, they didn't have the traditional education and ladies that didn't, but they found a way to add value. So whether you're looking for, you know, opportunity to figure out how to have a second income stream, or you have some form of business you're considering being in or you're in and you want to learn some tools, I thought I'm going to create some great products for this, but I thought I'd just send you out first a neat little interview that I did with them. These guys called me up and said, can we come by? I'd love to chat with you. And I said, well, we're going to chat. Let's put it on film. So we just knocked around, and what they wanted to ask me was, look, you know, we've spent enough time with you. We know you know how to get people to take action. I said, well, come on over and let me kind of get inside your heads a little bit. Let me see why you follow through. Why do so many people say they're going to do something and then never follow through? And a few people do something inside their head and heart that gets them to follow through. So I just thought you might enjoy this conversation we've had. It's with Frank Kern and John Reese, two of the best in this industry. And you know, I think you'll find it interesting. Maybe you'll be triggered a little bit to think about what will get you to follow through too. So this is my little gift to you. I hope you enjoy.
We got the dialing.
Frank.
Tony, what's up?
Good thing, man. How about you?
I'm good. Listen, we've got a serious issue that I think is affecting our market, and we need your help. We actually don't know if we can solve this problem, but we think that you can. So we want to barge in today. We're kind of riding around anyway. I know you're shooting and stuff, but if you got a couple minutes so we can pop by, that sure would be helpful.
Okay, well, I'm honored. If I'm sure you help me. Come on over. I look forward to seeing you.
Okay. See you, man.
All right, man.
Bye.
Look forward to seeing you, John. Bye-bye.
Yep,
Bye.
see ya. So why are we in a hotel anyways?
They use this place a lot to shoot stuff because it's got a really nice background.
Oh, so
really nice outdoor
filming
stuff.
different guests and interviews
Yeah.
and TV commercials?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Come on in.
All right. Thank you. Hey,
Hey,
Tony.
guys.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
What's all this?
Doing a little leadership filming, man.
That's awesome.
Good to see you.
All right. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, you did. Well, come on in. I'm curious to what this major problem is that you're going to see me right away about. This sounds like a setup to me, man.
It's a setup, yeah. I told John it was an intervention about his glue sniffing problem.
Well, come over and sit on my lap.
Yeah,
buddy.
exactly.
So we were doing some talking, and the big problem in our industry, we think, is a bit of a mystery. No one has the exact answer. We were actually talking about trying to figure it out, that, you know, so many people in our market get these courses that, you know, him and I both, for our own respective businesses, spend hours and hours of time, you know, recording these, you know, building these education products, these training products to show people how to grow a business or build a business. But there's this large segment of our customers in our market that we're in that really don't get results. They don't do anything, or they're just, you know, for whatever reason, it's not for them. It's just, you know, we were just talking about how great it would be if there were just, you know, so many more success stories, right? Like
If everyone who actually bought stuff, not necessarily just our stuff, but all of the stuff within our community, if the people who bought it, if everyone who bought it just actually used it, you know, and just followed the directions and followed through, how amazing that would be, like what we would accomplish as a community as a whole if that happened. So our challenge is, what needs to happen, what kind of shifts need to happen to get people to follow through, to get people to actually use the products?
You're talking about the same mystery that people have of, you know, why does somebody, you know, get that fat, or they're out of control and they hate themselves, but then they go have another piece of chocolate? Or, you know, why does the person who's just, the doctor just told them they have cancer, lung cancer, and said you've got to stop smoking, and some studies show 70% of the people keep on smoking. So you're not talking about a minor issue here, right? It's part of life. But there is an answer because there are people that do follow through, and there are people that never did before, and then they've never followed through in their life, and now finally they break through. And that's what I try to focus on, is what those people do. Yeah.
You know, in my case, in the business world, I look at people like you, people like Dan Kennedy.
Yeah.
What do these guys do? Okay, I'm just going to do that to the best of my ability. And sure, you know, it's like, well, oh no, I can't write copy as well as Dan Kennedy, or I don't have as much energy and drive as Tony Robbins. Well,
but you didn't start
so
like,
what?
You didn't start out as Frank Kern. You didn't start out who you are. You started out trying to make how much? Come on.
$300.
Yeah,
a week.
A week.
$300
right?
a week, yeah.
And you failed at that in the beginning, didn't you?
I failed pretty miserably, yes. But it was effortless to fail. I mean, it's just like natural, yeah.
But truthfully, you went from $300 to, I remember you said your first time you believed, if I remember, was when you made like $2,500 in like 4 or 5
days when I was on vacation.
While you're on vacation.
That was when the true internet marketing dream was realized, you know,
Right.
because I sold a downloadable product and I wasn't even there. I didn't have to ship anything. I was like, oh my God, this was so great, you know. $2,500, and to me that was just a gazillion, you know, because my rent I think was like $400 or something.
And when you've told me that story before, and you just did it again, and you get you big grin on your face, you get more excitement on your face than when you talk about doing 18, than when you talked about doing the 18 million, which I know you're proud as hell of, and you didn't get all the money, but you made 18 million bucks for somebody in 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
But look at your face. It's like nowhere near as excited as $2,500 in 5 days, baby.
Thing, though. I mean, the $2,500 is just as, there's no difference.
No, there's even more, because there was a moment when you recognized what was possible, but you didn't recognize it until you actually experienced it, but you only experienced it because you had to. Right. You had to keep going until you found it, just like you did. You had to keep going until you found it.
And it's like the validation that the fear doesn't have to matter anymore, that you don't, there is no other, that, you know, not having the plan B and knowing that you're going down the one path towards what you want.
Yeah.
It's the validation in your brain that, hey, this works. It may not work yet on the level I want it to, but it works. I've just proven it to myself.
Right.
And for that, I win. It's game over. I've already won.
Yeah.
Because I've proven it to myself.
Right.
So it validates everything in my mind that I want to do now just at a higher level and doing more of it. That's it.
Right. You just now leverage it. You now just stack it. So what do these people need to get started? Why aren't they starting? We all know the answer is fear. But the difference with you guys or me or anybody who's followed through is we're more afraid of what life would be like if we don't follow through than the person who's willing to settle for what they got and kind of hope it'll change and maybe purchase something for the moment and then not follow through on it. It's almost like people, overachievers, have a little more fear. They're a little more afraid of missing out. They're afraid of not being there, or they got a strong enough reason to follow through. So I'd say if you're looking at home, you want to give somebody some value, go, where do I start? I'm sick of this. That's a damn good place. That's probably why they bought the product in the first place, but now they're not.
Escape from that for just a minute.
What's that?
They bought the product to escape from that state.
Just for a moment.
Yeah.
So, because well, guess what? What makes people excited is progress. You don't have to be at the goal yet to feel alive again. You have to make progress. And the first step to progress is making a decision and buying the product. But then they don't do the second step, which is open the damn thing up.
I think another powerful distinction that you're hitting on here is the fact that a lot of people that have breakthroughs in their lives, like including Frank and I both in different, you know, success stories, situations, whatever you want to call them, is that, you know, people typically hit rock bottom before that must is a reality.
You're right.
So in thinking of that, you know, because a lot of things as well, like we hear in marketing, you know, like if you had a gun to your head right now and you had to make money in the next, you know, 48 hours, what would you do? And that really resonates with people. But so I just wanted to bring this into the conversation because I think a big part of the market of all these people aren't people that have their backs completely against the wall yet.
That's right.
Okay, so they're not in a must situation yet. They're in a desire situation where they're okay in their lives. They do have big dreams and ambitions. They do want greater things, but it's not pushing them yet to the point where they will do what it takes
to master
have the
something.
must. So what do you think? How do people go from not having their backs against the wall when they have no choice to say, I'm totally sick of this, to conditioning their minds to go from their situation where they are, which may be okay, to getting something greater?
Well, think about this. What pisses you off and what excites you is all relative. You know, $300 a week, no, $2,500 excites him more, that memory to this day, than even the $1 million, you know, he did in his first 24-hour version, right? Or you breaking the 4-minute mile, $1 million. That must have been out of your mind. Tell me about that for a second. What did that feel like? You make $1 million in 24 hours. Nobody in history of the internet's done it.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable.
What was your?
It wasn't even about the money.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It wasn't really about the money.
No, it wasn't.
I wasn't thinking like, oh, that's how many cars I can buy.
No.
It just wasn't. It was just breaking through like another like barrier of progress.
So at that point, it wasn't about your back to your wall. at that point, what it was really
It was
about.
a further point for my fear, is what it really was.
Further point for your fear, and for some people, and I think in some cases, it's also a recognition of who I am and what I'm capable of. So for somebody whose life is already great, this is about, what if I could take on another skill that could create more freedom for my life? And just saying, I'm not going to go out and try and do it all perfectly right now. What I'm going to do for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to create a little ritual. I'm going to do one thing a day to condition my mind, right, so that I get strong, so I follow through. I'm going to read something. I'm going to listen to something. I'm going to immerse myself. I'm going to go for an intense jog, or I'm going to go lift weights, but I'm going to do it consciously to get in a state where I'm going to follow through. That's number one, because people follow through when they're in state. Second, I'm going to get clear about why this is a must for me. It's not because my back's against the wall, but because I want to master an area of life that could create some freedom. I'm not going to master it overnight, but I got the system, I got the plan. I'm going to do one thing a day. I'm going to work on one subject a week. This week's going to be about figuring out what the right product or industry is. Next week's going to be basics of building traffic. And each week I'm going to make a little progress, and I'm going to get to a goal, whatever that is. I'm going to make $1,000, my $300 in a week. I'm going to get to my $2,500. That first $2,500 is the most excited.
Unbelievable.
The first $300. I remember
It's the most life-changing, too.
It is the most life-changing. I remember I was supposed to be a truck driver, making $24,000 a year because I'd be making the most anybody in my family had ever made.
How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, real well. Thank God I'm not driving a truck, right?
I think you could pull the truck.
I figured out I could pull it with my finger,
yeah.
man. I could do it with my teeth. I could pull it with my teeth, right? 36 grand a year was the goal. If I could make 3 grand in a month. When I did that, was out of my mind. And then it was like, could I make 10 grand a month? Then it was 10 grand in a day, then 100 grand a day. Then could I make $1 million in a day? I had a day where I made $400 million in a day. The stock value of the company I took public, my personal stock.
But it was probably after I did it, though, so it doesn't really count. I'm just joking with you.
You're right.
People don't remember who's first, Tony. 400 million, a million, it's all
who cares?
the
Who
same.
cares?
No,
I'm not saying
that's
to brag.
amazing, though.
I'm not saying to
no,
brag.
of course.
It's because they told me when I was on stage, I had this audience of about 15,000 people at the Continental Center. It was during a stretch break. I was doing what I loved, rocking the house. Everybody's going crazy. And they go, the stock's worth $400 million right now. I was like, wow, that's cool. It's like, okay, that's, I don't want to sound stupid. It's like, what's next? And I went right back to what I loved. Once you break through, then it just becomes a game. The people that are getting your products have not yet broken through in most cases. The breakthrough happens by conditioning your mind every day, by feeding it a role model or a story. It's putting yourself in a peak state where you follow through by getting physically strong. It's creating a little ritual of doing a little bit each day, and then you get momentum. But the most important thing of all is what we started out with. Why?
Absolutely.
Why is it a must for you? It doesn't have to be you're against the wall, but it has to be something you're hungry for, because the only difference in people is hunger. And if you're not hungry, get around people that are hungry and something will hit you. You watch a conversation, you get around people that are doing better, and all of a sudden you start going, my life sucks. I remember I went to a guy in LA. He's one of the most multi-billionaire guy, I'll never forget. And I lived in the Del Mar Castle, and I was really proud. That was like the symbol of me having taken myself from being poor to providing for my family this great place. It's built from castles in Europe overlooking the ocean, not far from you. And I went to this guy's house. He's a billionaire. He took me down to his wine cellar. I don't even drink wine. Went through this whole thing. At the end of the night, I was depressed. I lived in the Del Mar tenement, as far as I was concerned. I really was. I was like, I live in a crappy place, and all my standards changed. All of a sudden, I wasn't willing to settle for living that. All of a sudden, my back was to the wall in a different way, because as a man, I knew I was capable of more. So people can change their standard by getting around where it's better. People can change their standard by getting associated with what's true, like the bills they got to solve, the problems they got to do it. Or they can do it because they're excited, because it's something new they want to take on. Everyone's different, but they got to find the why, and they got to come up with some daily rituals to get them going, and just do a step at a time. That's where you get momentum.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
So, think about what's the holy grail between somebody taking action or not. It's one word: certainty. When somebody is absolutely certain, the common word is believe, right? But, you can believe at a general level, or you can believe what's certain. When you're absolutely certain that if I do this, it's going to get that result, and that result's going to change my life, you'll do it. When you think it absolutely is not going to work, you're never going to do it. The middle no man's land of maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, that's the piece that kills people, right? So if it's a must for you, you got to make it work, right? In our case, right? That's an example. If it's not a must for you and you're not sure, you don't know what to do. So years ago, I'd look around and say, okay, how do people get themselves to follow through that haven't been following through? What's the difference? And I started interviewing hundreds of people, literally, and eventually thousands, because I had thousands of my events. So I'd ask the group to give me their feedback. And I came up with this model. It's like the holy grail of belief, or the holy grail of momentum. It's like the difference between what makes the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? And the difference we all know is mindset, but like, how's that built? So this is what I did. I created stupid little 4 little boxes, and I'll scribble it here for you. You think about the first thing that determines whether you can do something or not, and I put that in this first box at the top here on the left side, and it's potential. Like, what's the potential of a human being? Like, when you guys started, you proved something no one had done in history. You ran the 4-minute mile, right? For golly knows how many centuries, they're trying to run a 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister does it. How did he do it? Do you remember? You did it in this industry, right? You made $1 million in a day. No one had ever done that in history, right? After you did it, a bunch of other guys are doing it because it became possible. Roger Bannister didn't just go physically practice. He made a shift in his head. He practiced in his head because he could never achieve it physically, so he had to change in his head first so that the result became certain enough he believed it, and then his body got him through. After Roger Bannister ran that 4-minute mile, within 2 years, 37 people ran a 4-minute mile.
Wow.
When no one in history had ever done it. Now here's how it works. The potential for anybody getting your product is extraordinary. They can do what you've done as much, more or less. They can do whatever they want to do. The potential's there. The market's proven that. Whether or not they tap into that potential has a lot to do with what action they take, which is the question you came to me with, right? Like, you know, God, they all have potential, but they're not taking action. And we all know that the action they take is going to determine the results they get. That's pretty obvious. So most people have a belief about what their real potential is no matter what you tell them. And that affects how much action they take. And of course that affects the result. And then ironically, that result reinforces their belief. And then that belief affects it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a person has unlimited potential, we all agree. But they take little action, little results. Why? Because they have to start with a problem with their belief. They don't believe it's really going to happen for me. Maybe for Frank Kearns because he's got the cool hair and stuff, or maybe it's for you because you're so driven, but it's not me. Maybe Tony Robbins because he's a freak, got these big teeth. Whatever their thought process is, right? They got this thing, right? But what happens is, if you believe that there's very little potential, how much action are you going to take? Nothing, little. And when you take little potential with a little action, what kind of results do you get? Lousy little results. And when you get little results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you this was a waste of time, told you this wouldn't work. And then what happens? You tap even less potential. You take even less action. You get even worse results, and your belief gets even weaker. And this sucker feeds on itself until you are in a downward spiral.
It's poisonous.
It's poisonous and it's self-fulfilling. Now, what if something could happen that could come along and fill you with a sense of absolute certainty? Not like I believe, but mean where you know. In you guys' case, mine as well, we knew because we had to. Because we burned the boats. There was no other option. We had to find a way. We weren't going to live that way. We all did it in different ways and for different reasons, but in essence, that was it. If you get yourself in a state of certainty that this is going to work, I'm going to find the way, and if this doesn't work, I will make the way, then you tap a lot more potential. And when you're certain in your potential, you take massive action. When you take massive action, you really believe in something, you get great results. When you get great results, your brain goes, see, I told you I was a stud. I told you this thing would work out. Now you're even stronger. You tap more potential, take greater action, greater results. That's how you went from $300 in a week to $2,500 in 5 days to $100,000 in a month to $1 million in a day. Same thing with you. And we get momentum. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now some people go out and they go, well, I'm going to take a bunch of action. All right, I'm going to open this product. I'm going to try it. And they'll say to you, I even did it. But it's like a salesman who goes and knocks on the door, and he knocks on 100 doors and says,
you don't want one of these, do you?
yeah, exactly right. You know? And even if he doesn't say it verbally, his face says it because he doesn't believe it's going to work. So his voice, his body, the execution is so weak. Maybe if he talks to 100 people, somebody's going to buy out of pity. They don't want his kids to starve, right? But he's not going to get the result. So the core difference in people is how do you produce certainty when the world isn't giving it to you? You go out and you try. In your case, you're 100,000 in debt and nothing's working. How do you keep yourself going? The way you did it, the way I did it, the way you're doing it, we may not have done it consciously, is we didn't change our potential. That was there. And it wasn't even taking more action. Taking more action with a belief it's not going to work, it's not going to change anything. We got results in our head that made us feel certain as if it had already happened. True or false for you?
True.
Right? So give me an example so people know I'm not just making this crap up.